obviously become public in the last hour or so that President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I just wanted to do a live show real quick. There's a format for this. Don't worry. I'm not just coming on this evening just to speedball. But before I say anything else, prayers up for President Biden. I think it's important that we say that. I say that because some of the stuff I've been seeing online, and you'll see in the course of this show, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I wanted to kind of tune in first of all to the coverage from Fox News on this diagnosis. This was breaking in the last hour or so. So just gonna share that with you just now. So here's that coverage from Fox News right here. Okay, so here goes.
Continuing to monitor breaking news out of the White House about former President Joe Biden. His office just revealed that the 46th president is diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Let's check back in with Madeline Rivera. She is live at the White House for us. Madeline.
Hey, John. So, yes, we just got this information within the last half hour or so. So I do just want to read the statement from the personal office of former President Joe Biden. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be more hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. So there have been a lot of headlines and concerns regarding the president's cognitive health. It was one of the reasons why he was pushed out of the presidential candidacy last year. But there have been very few headlines and concerns regarding the president's own physical health. In fact, I went back to see what the president's results were from his annual physical last year, and it said President Biden is a healthy, active, robust 81-year-old male who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency, to include those as chief executive, head of state, and commander in chief. So it is kind of shocking at this point. But the president, I've been thinking back to some of the activities that we've seen him do. This is a former president who was very active. We could see him go biking in Rehoboth Beach whenever he would go down there with his family. He was very physically fit and very active, at least for his age. So this is shocking news. Of course, we are waiting to hear more information. Now, of course, Biden, being the former president, will be afforded some of the best care in the country, but he is 82 years old, so there are understandably concerns about how his treatment may go as well. But I do want to refer to one part of that statement. Again, they say at this time that this cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. So there is that hope that the president will be able to withstand whatever treatment he does go through. But again, at this point, this statement says that this is an aggressive form of bone cancer. Prostate cancer, rather, excuse me. So we are waiting to hear more information that we could see come out of this news today. John.
Okay, so that's I mean that's the first part there, and I really I want to front load I want to front load this part because I'm gonna read you now what President Trump said, and I've got that in hand here. So President Trump obviously has been on Truth Social in the last hour as well. This is breaking as well. So he said, uh, Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. You know what? Reading that, to be fair, when I first saw this diagnosis, I mean, Trump and Joe Biden have not necessarily been the most complimentary of one another, but it was nice to see Donald Trump actually be classy. I haven't always been able to say this about Donald Trump, but the fact that he was so classy in his statement here is actually pretty refreshing. I'm not gonna lie about that. So I wonder you guys can get in the chat, by the way. If you're tuning in tonight, just let me, obviously, you can drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm happy to read that out and give you a shout out as well. But I think this was actually pretty classy from Donald Trump. Um, on the other hand, I will say I don't think the his supporters have necessarily been as classy, because in fact the way I found out about this was I was scrolling online this afternoon, and I was like, well, I saw a particular conservative leaning subreddit. Oh, I just saw I was on Reddit, and next thing I see, they're basically shitting on on Joe Biden, even in the wake of this diagnosis. And obviously, after I watched this video on Fox News, I decided to read the comments. I know it's ill-advised to do that, but I decided to actually read the comments, which was probably a silly thing to do. I was a silly boy, because I don't even know what I was expecting to see. I don't know what I was expecting to see. But I'll share my screen again with you guys, and you guys will see why. Like, dude, I gotta say, people are trash. People are absolutely trash, because you would think that, I mean, cancer is one of those things that I think many people probably know somebody or know of somebody who may have been diagnosed with cancer. It is not a great way to go. And I know, like, in this society that we live in right now, like, politics, divides us, and all of that stuff. We're divided on the politics and all of that. It's sometimes easy to forget that, to be human sometimes, and just stick to the humanity of things. You could, like, reading these comments, in my mind I was like, you could just say, oh, you know prayers up, whatever, say something positive. But by and large, there were lots of people that chose to, in the comment section here. As again, I don't know what I was expecting. But I'll read you some comments here. Moon, I shouldn't read their name actually. Obviously you guys will see it as I go through here. This person says, "There's no way any capable doctor would have skipped the PSA test as part of a physical." I mean, people say that, and the next few comments there are about how, the next comment here, you would think his doctors would have found this before it got aggressive. This person too is like, so it's metastasized and no one caught it until now. I think people forget that cancer, cancer, like, I don't know. I'm obviously not a doctor, and I'll play you a video from a doctor that was on Fox News, um, and something like a quarter of the cancers that exist get misdiagnosed or missed in some way, right? So like, I think it's some of these statements here are pretty insensitive, like, to be fair, those are even the pretty good ones. This one was like, the doctor that signed off on good health had to have been paid to do that. He needs to be looked into. Like, you would think that, when a person gets diagnosed with cancer like this, that people would be a bit more empathetic. And I do this because, as a Canadian here, forget about the whole Joe Biden thing. As a Canadian here, I just got to keep an eye on the chat here. I do this because, as a Canadian, we're shifting very much in our politics towards a certain direction, where our politics is grounded in hate, instead of, like, perhaps difference in opinion. Like, I mean, just think about Justin Trudeau and how toxic it got, at the end there, and how, I mean, thankfully nobody's shooting at him, and I bless God for that. But, it's crazy that that this is how far our politics goes, where even when a deeply human phenomenon happens to a person, because you don't like their politics, you then, under the cover of the internet, go and post certain things online. I say this because, what I hope that, whoever you are out there, before you type on your whatever device you're using, think about it a little bit. Okay. I mean, obviously, the anonymity that you get from the internet gives people this idea that, okay, I mean, no one's gonna see you, and that is really and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, that is really the point where you should be the best person you can be. Because if if you're not a good person, you know, when nobody can see you, then that's it's just not good. That's just all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna read you a few more comments here. Uh, this person says, and this is where it got really, really strange to me. This person says, "Does anyone else feel like the timing is strange?" And so and that person got 500 likes. Imagine, and this is how fucked up the world is right now. And I don't know if this person is replying because they're being sarcastic or something. They say yes, very convenient timing. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, very convenient timing. Like the man's got cancer. Like how is that ever convenient, you guys? Like, what is this? I did not. I can't say I understood that at all. And you kind of go down, and it gets increasingly fucked up. This person is saying yup with a smiley face, and then there's like uh this person even down here goes on to actually imply that if he's trying to sell, he's trying to get all out of investigations, or he's trying to sell books. It says, what, like the books are coming out, aides are speaking up, committees being formed, and investigations are coming out? Nah, total coincidence, I'm sure. And then proceeds to end this comment with fuck Joe Biden. That is the world you live in, you guys. That is the world you live in. Yeah, that is the world you live in. If you needed any more validation that people are friggin' trash, there you go. There you go. Right? I'm not even. And this person at the end of that thread, and I'm going to move on to the next one. There goes on to say, "Don't ever vote blue again." Like, bloody hell, guys! Finally, finally, somebody, after scrolling down for a little bit, finally somebody says, "All politics aside, I hope he remains comfortable and peaceful." That's all. I mean, that's really all that you needed to say there. And again, I will reiterate that, and it's probably a good thing that Trump himself has come out and been positive in this particular message to Joe Biden. Hopefully, that goes back to his supporters, so that people realize, guys, it doesn't have to be that deep. It doesn't have to be that toxic. It doesn't have to be that toxic. He's no longer the president. You've got a new president now. You've got the guy that you want. Doesn't have to be that toxic. Yes, let's see if there's more that's interesting. Yeah, and then I'll go back to the next video. Oh yeah, this person goes on to say it is more lies, so he doesn't have to face criminal charges. Like, dude, it's cancer, you guys. I, oh man. Anyways, what I wanted to do next, what I want to do is because Fox News actually has some a broader video that talks about the, this one's a doctor actually breaking down the Joe Biden's diagnosis here. So I'm gonna play that one for you guys now. And this is, as I say, I'm gonna keep this one
So
short
Fox
by and
News
large.
senior medical analyst. Let me read again from that news release that we got from former President Biden's office, doctor. It says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. That doesn't sound good, doctor.
Gleason 9, John, means that it's in a very aggressive form of cancer. And group 5 means that within that, it's the most aggressive type. That means it has the highest risk of spread, which obviously he has had. He's presenting with urinary symptoms, and I want the viewer to know that most of the time, prostate cancer would be asymptomatic. When it reaches the point where you already have urinary symptoms, that's also a sign that it's pretty far advanced. When they say that it is hormone responsive, that likely means that they think by decreasing testosterone, it can be a testosterone-dependent cancer, that it will respond. The two types of therapy they use for that is one called Lupron, which stops testosterone production, and the other is a drug called Casodex or like Casodex, which stops testosterone from binding. They also might decide, and I don't know this, but sometimes they decide to do more than one therapy. They might try to take the prostate out, do radiation and the hormone therapy altogether. That's not uncommon. Over 80% of men over the age of 80 have some prostate cancer cells in their body. So this is a very high likelihood in all men. And if it's this far advanced, meaning Gleason 9 metastasized to the bone, the 5-year survival rate is somewhere between 30 and 40%. Again, depending on how well he responds to therapy. One of the questions on everyone's mind, and you just heard this from the reporter, is what about last year's PSA? You know, this was found by physical examination, by a prostate exam. A lot of times we find an elevation in prostate-specific antigen, a PSA, and then we go after it, get an MRI. I mean, he must have had the best possible care here. I'm a little taken aback that it's this far advanced and very, very concerned about it.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask you. This is a former president of the United States. He's supposed to be getting, as you say, the best medical care in the world. And yet, you know, just a few months after he leaves office, this prostate cancer is advanced enough that it has metastasized to the bone. That's just not good.
Here's how I got my team to use Monday Sales CRM
YouTube.
and actually like it. Let me start by saying
YouTube's gonna hit me with an ad.
No, we don't have enough information for me to be sure of the following statement, but I want everyone to know that the PSA, though, I think it's a really great test, and I do it on every male over the age of 45. Sometimes it can be low, and you still could have this. It's not 100%. I'm not saying his was low. It wasn't written as I don't recall it being indicated there. But if it's high, you go after it. And again, to reach the point of symptoms, we most of the time we can diagnose it before. Although, you know, it may very well be that he's hormone responsive, and that's what we're all hoping and praying for here. We're looking to see what the radiation oncologist says. Are they going to give radiation? They've advanced radiation therapy dramatically for prostate cancer. They can target it. They can use seeds. It has less side effects than it used to. And the same thing with robotic prostatectomy is unbelievable now at getting the prostate out. So a lot of times the prostate would be taken out, they would give radiation and then give the hormone therapy. They're not saying that at this point.
It is, as you say, one of the most treatable forms of cancer, but you have to catch it fairly early, right?
Well, you have to catch it fair. If you catch it while it's still within the capsule, within the prostate itself, it's curable most of the time. When it's metastasized, like here to the bone, much less so. And again, this aggressive, very, very concerning, means that it probably spread pretty fast. They might try to radiate that lesion they found on the bone. They're definitely going to give hormone therapy here. They'll know more in a few months about how responsive it is. When the goal is to get it before it leaves the prostate. When it's left the prostate, it becomes much more difficult to cure.
Dr. Siegel, stay with us for just a moment. We want to check in with senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy. Peter, obviously, you were there at the White House for the full run of the Biden administration. Are you as surprised as I am at this news regarding the former president? We're looking for Peter Doocy, our senior White House correspondent. Peter, are you able to hear me?
Peter's MIA.
All right, we have lost our connection with Peter Doocy, but we will try to reestablish that and get back to him in just a moment. In terms of other symptoms, other problems that this might cause the former president, the fact that they're going to be treating him for this prostate cancer, Dr. Siegel, is there anything in particular that is going to afflict him? Anything particularly from this treatment regimen?
That's a really great question. And that's one of the reasons I'm thinking maybe they would take the prostate out, which is to decrease that amount of urinary symptoms. And the same with radiation. I'm assuming it hasn't gone anywhere else than the bone, not to the brain, not to the liver. But the other thing I'm concerned about is bone pain, because those metastases to the bone can be pretty painful, which is another reason I think they would radiate that too, and try to decrease it so it wouldn't cause pain. But the other thing you're alluding to.
All right, look, this is getting a little gory, so maybe what I'll do, but obviously, what it sounds like here is, it's really bad, and it's gonna be a long road. I just realized I've missed quite a few of your chats here. R says my prayers to him. Uh, Also she says so somber, not dramatic. Okay, there's a bit more meat here. R says, although it might seem that people are not sympathetic and insensitive, but some of them have a point. As the president, he has access to good health care. He is supposed to have an annual checkup. Yeah. And that's the thing though. But I think the thing to I don't think that we should uh indulge in speculation here, because and that's the thing, you don't really know the circumstances around how they missed the diagnosis, if the PSA, as they said, was actually was indeed conducted, what was missed. But obviously what a lot of people have said is, well, if how much of this is down to the Democrats gaslighting the American people by saying that Joe Biden is the peak of health, and here we are, as the doctor said there, months later, he's diagnosed with cancer that maybe should have been caught while he was in office. I mean, he had checkups, as you rightly said there are, and that is a that is a mystery that will rage on. But at the same time, I don't think speculation is is the way here. I don't think just speculating is is respectful, in my opinion. Um, but the other thing the other thing I find, and maybe this is a little bit of my dark humor here. The other thing I find pretty amusing is the fact that in the U.S. it's weird how everything seems like a soap opera. Like this has been out just not even an hour, and you see people already breaking down his treatments, breaking down how they take out his prostate. Like they really go in out there. Like they start to talk about how they it's wild. Like this is barely like a week after the new pope was announced, the American pope. And it's such everything is such a soap opera in the US. Like they went when the pope was announced, they went and met up with his brother, got baby pictures of him. They were asking about whether he has seen what was the movie, Conclave. They were asking whether the new pope had seen Conclave. And I just like they really, I don't know, maybe that, and maybe this is why I don't want to be overly popular, because then people feel like they need access to your entire life, and like they have rights to pick apart your life like that. It's wild to me. It's wild to me. Braveheart says, okay, you're communicating with other. Um, I think you're saying, I agree it's insensitive, but it should have been caught early because he has access to good healthcare. Sometimes it's not about good healthcare. Sometimes these things get missed. Um, Especially when politics is involved, right? You can't dismiss the fact, obviously, that, but I don't think they would try and cover up something like a cancer. I know people are quick to run away with this conspiracy theory. It's one thing to cover up a cognitive decline. It's another thing to cover up cancer. I mean, it's another thing to try and run for presidency, knowing that, God forbid, he could be dead in 3 to 5 years. You know, that's another thing. Anyways, Uh, Braveheart says some of these comments. Oh, I'm sure you're referring to the comments there. Some of these comments are not humane. Um, it should have been okay. Braveheart says I think he had been sick for a long time and they just announced it. Again, it's one thing to hide a cognitive decline, which maybe I shouldn't. I probably won't dispute that. To be fair, that it was clear in the end, near the end, especially near the end, that Joe Biden wasn't that man anymore. But it's another thing to hide cancer. It's another thing to hide cancer. Uh, Braveheart says if he doesn't want speculation, he wouldn't have publicized it. That's not how that works. He's the former president. This is what happens when you're in the public eye. You're not gonna keep this kind of thing. I don't know when's the last time that you've ever been surprised by anything happening in the life of a public figure. This is the world we're living. If you're a public figure, it comes with the territory. Everybody's in your business all the time. Anyways, I wanted to, as I say, I wanted to keep this one short, no more than we're coming up on 30 minutes now, so I'm gonna try and bookend it right here. What I will say is that I I was looking at how fucked up, and I say that, and I know I shouldn't say that on YouTube because they might get mad at me for using the word fuck, and I said it again. I probably should. um, anyways, but I was looking at the chats and I realized just how messed up the world is right now. And obviously I talk a lot about politics here, and sometimes you guys agree with me, sometimes you don't. Sometimes we have differences of opinion, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to dislike a person or a person running for office. The same way lots of people dislike Justin Trudeau for some of his policies and what they did to Canadians and to Canada. A lot of people were mad at him for COVID and the policies that happened then. That's okay. We can disagree. But what I will always defend is that as I, I'm a Christian, right? I don't talk about my faith on the podcast, obviously. But at the same time, I think that it is important. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any chats here. I think it is important that I know the internet allows us to kind of hide behind these walls and just be a certain type of person online. And there are people that feel like, the internet gives them this freedom to kind of indulge in conspiracies and stuff like that. But I urge you to hold on to humanity, to hold on to empathy, to hold on to just human dignity, basic human decency. If you're out there, if there's moments to troll, there's moments to be competitive, there's moments to root for your guy. It's the same thing I say to Canadians here. Like, whether you voted for Pierre Poilievre or you voted for Marconi, you better pray like hell that Marconi is a rip roaring success. You know why? If he's successful, that will be beneficial to you, hopefully. Hopefully that gets to you, you know? If he doesn't succeed, well, you get another chance whenever the next election is. You can vote him out then. But it is not helpful to anybody to criticize or to continue to to fight for the sake of fighting. When we can come together and make things and sort of chart a path forward that is beneficial. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I'll keep it at that. You guys take care of yourselves. If you know, obviously, those of you out there, if you know anybody who has experienced cancer or is going through cancer right now, my prayers are with you, and I hope you come through. I hope you find a miracle, if that is what you need to hear right now. Okay, this episode is meant to be just a humane reach out to you out there, whoever you are, whatever you're going through. I'm with you. Take care, you guys. Have a good night.